Exploring Saving Opportunities with Advanced Data Analytics. My name is Johannes Schwele, and before I will introduce you to our speakers and the agenda, please let me go through some housekeeping rules. This webinar will last about 45 minutes, and in the end, we will have 50 minutes for your questions. You can see a question button on the top of your screen. And please address your questions through that section. This webinar is recorded, and the recording and the slides will be shared afterwards. If we will not have time to answer all of your questions, we will make sure to catch up with you later after the webinar. Today's agenda. First, I would like to give you a short introduction to our company and to our speakers. Then we will present you an end-to-end data analytics solution. Then we will explore a little bit how cashback opportunities can arise. And we will show you how we analyze duplicate payments, and especially also how we can enable you to make a good follow-up process that it's lean and clean. And then we go into a short summary, and in the end, we will handle the questions you might have. So shortly to our company, DAB Datenanalyse und Beratungs GmbH. We are founded in 2004, operate out of Deggendorf with about 50 employees. And here we serve around 250 customers in more than 20 countries. Our core is SAP data extraction and data analytics in all fields of controls, ESG, but also in business solutions. Here you see some of well-known brands that we've got the honor to serve with our solutions and services. Some might be familiar to you. So please let me introduce you to our speakers. Here we have Moritz Lang. Moritz Lang is our data scientist, and he will present you what we do on the AI part of the analytics and why we do it like we do it. Our other speaker is my colleague Philip Kienke. Philip Kienke is one of our most experienced consultants, also implementing big SAP data analytic programs, and he will first go into the subject of how a data analytics program works end to end. Philip, thank you, and over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Johannes, for the short introduction, and also a warm welcome from my side to all of you watching the webinar today. As Johannes already told, we will start showing you a little bit what an end-to-end data analytics solution from DAB looks like. I have seen that some of you are not first movers in the webinar. Some of you have already attended one of our previous seminars. That's why I will just shortly show you how the data analytics process we see will be executed. We start on your SAP system as we are focused on SAP data, which doesn't mean that we cannot serve any other data sources as well. And with our DAB Nexus data extraction, we pull out the data from the SAP system or from multiple systems or multiple company codes, whatever fits your needs. And then our content, the so-called DAP Analytics Suite, starts the data analytic process itself. In the DAP Analytics Suite, we have around 300 predefined data analytics, which can be run one by one or multiple analytics together. And this can also be directly distributed with the results. There we have multiple possible ways. I will show you one in the Microsoft environment, the so-called Microsoft lists today. And in that environment, when you have distributed the results, we can go on with the follow-up process. Today's webinar will focus a little bit on the cashback analytics itself, so the predefined analytics, and also on the follow-up process, which will be heavily combined with cash recovery on the side when we talk about cashback analytics. So pretty straightforward process. We will not focus so much on the first part of the process, on how we get the data out of the system, how this all works, but a little bit more on the content and on the follow-up process. I hope this fits with your expectations, and if you have any questions, feel free to write them in the question and answer section inside of Teams. First of all, a big question we always get is, how do cashback opportunities arise? So I will show you on the example of the company, the example of the duplicate payments and the duplicate credit notes. So what is what? We see that in the middle we have that skyscraper. This is our company. And we have on the one side vendor, multiple vendors, which sends invoices when they want to invoice services, products, or whatsoever they supply for our company. And then we pay it usually as we do. So we do a payment to our vendor, logical process. We get something, so we also have to give something. So we get a product or a service and we have to pay some money for it. Then sometimes there might be also a second payment or a third one to the same vendor for the same invoice, for the same services, for the same products. This is a problem as we pay double or 3 times the price for the one and same stuff we get. On the other hand, which is often forgotten in the process, is that we also might lose some money on the side of credit notes. For example, we have a customer gets some products, pays us, and there might be the reason he overpays, or he sends something back as we over-delivered, and he might have paid already for the whole bunch of services and software. So we credit a credit note. The credit note we can also pay back to the customer, or we will charge it in the next invoice he sends so that we deduct the invoice. But also on that part of the process, it is possible to credit the same overpayment a second time. Yeah, both sides have some potential money losses, and if you do this more often, this can harm your financial side quite significantly. And a lot of times I'm asked by customers, new customers, but also long-time customers, that SAP has some controls already inside. So there's that checkbox that it checks for duplicate payments. So I don't need to have a further look on this. But what we see is that, yeah, there might be a check, but that check is very simplified in SAP. It looks for the same vendor and the same invoice number. And as I can show you on this slide, there might be a lot of other reasons how duplicate payments or duplicate credit notes might arise. One thing we often see is that the master data quality you have in the system is very poor. So, for example, if you have one vendor multiple times in the system, you will not easily find out that you have paid that vendor already if for the first invoice you use the original vendor, and for the second invoice payment you use the duplicate. SAP will not be able to check, and you will also not easily find out, because when you look at all the line items from that vendor, you will not see the same payment twice. So poor master data quality is one of the big issues for why you have so many duplicates also in payments and credit notes. Then, a not so often occurring issue, but we also see it, that there might be some software errors, especially when you have like a a system which works up front and pushes invoices into the system. Sometimes when there's an issue with the upload and it gets interrupted and you start it again, the upload, it might start with the same invoice again and then push it into the system twice. So this can also lead to duplicate payments in some cases. Then a big thing also are process weaknesses. When your whole invoice receipt process is being restructured, or if you are now changing from postal invoices to e-invoices, etc., this can lead to a lot of duplicates in payment. We had a customer who had a lot of service people working for them on a freelance basis, so as subcontractors, and we saw that they were also switching from the from the postal invoice to the e-invoice, but they were not 100% sure of the e-invoice system already works 100%, and so they asked the subcontractors who provided the services to also send it via the email, via the e-invoice way, and to secure that everything lands correctly into the system. They also said, and if you could in the end also provide us the invoices on the postal way. And they a lot of these payments, they didn't actually compare good enough, and they paid twice for the same services, especially when you have similar amounts for a service, so you have a standardized price. You will not easily see that you're double paying the same invoice. Then there are also some fraudulent cases where duplicate payments might occur. So an employee or someone who has some process knowledge, they may or might create fake invoices multiple times so that he or she or that employee has also some profit from this duplicate, because it is based on an actual invoice. That fraud is also not so easy to find, as you can easily then just put in one of the maybe duplicates also from the poor master data quality. You put your bank contacts, and then a duplicate payment is done. Or if your employee works together with a company you're paying, that might also lead to fraudulent cases. And what we see is, I mean, if there's a lot of work in the end of the fiscal year, end of the fiscal quarter, month, whatsoever, it might be that also invoices from another company code might land in your invoice box, so in your invoice receipt box, post box. And due to missing visibility between different company codes, it could also be that company code A pays the invoice for that vendor, and then company code B also pays for the same stuff, especially if you have a common shared service who pays, or if you have similar business, so with the same vendors, etc. This can also be done quite often. And if you don't have the ability to also see what's going on the other company code, then you will not be easily able to figure out what is going to happen. And because there are so many reasons why duplicate payments might occur, even though we already have some checks in SAP, we are trying to analyze duplicate payments with our data analytics solution. But as we also said in the beginning that we are also using AI methods, I might ask my colleague Moritz, why and how are we analyzing duplicate payments the way we do?
So let's get into the details. So When facing an analytical problem like we have here in detecting duplicates, so duplicate payments and duplicate credit notes, one should always try to solve the problem as simple as possible. And on the next slides, we will talk about why the KISS principle, so KISS here stands for keep it simple and stupid, is not working good. So let's assume the following scenario. Like Philip said, we have an invoice from a customer, from a vendor, and that invoice is posted twice in the system. So here in the middle in the table, you can see we have some data in SAP or any other system, and that vendor invoice is in there twice. Because if we have a look at row number 1 and 2, we can see the company code is identical 1000, the fiscal year is the same, the invoice number is the same, the item number is the same, the vendor award is the same, the amount is the same, and at least the item text is the same. So we have a single vendor invoice, and that one is posted twice in the system. And the table in the middle represents the system. It could be an SAP system or any other ERP system as well. So we have an invoice that is posted twice, and now let's assume we are trying to find duplicates in the data. So now one could try to filter out all the pairs where the vendor name and the invoice number is the same. So for example, in line number 1 and 2, we would have the same vendor, Award Inc., and of course, the invoice number as well is the same. So those both column values are the same, and therefore we have a duplicate here. And if we try to find some other duplicates using that very simple rule, so based on the KISS principle, keep it simple and stupid, we would also find the next duplicate in row number 3 and 4. So let's quickly check the data. We have the company code 2000 in row number 3 and 4. Fiscal year 2023. The invoice number is the same. The vendor is the same, the amount is the same, and now there is a slight tweak in the item text because once it says rent for March 2023, and in line number 4, there it says rent for April 2023. Now, if we would assume to solve the problem pretty easily, we would find the second duplicate as well. So the vendor name and the invoice number is the same in the second duplicate. But as you can see in the item text, there is a correct recurring payment, and therefore this is not a duplicate payment. So the problem we can see this by applying the KISS principle to solve the problem as easy as possible just by using some rules like vendor name is the same and invoice number is the same. We know from experience, if you detect 11 potential duplicate payments, only a single out of those 11 will be a true duplicate payment, and the remaining 10 out of 11 will be no duplicate payments. So of course, that 1 out of 11 will add direct value to your company because due to the cashback opportunity, but the remaining 10 out of 11, that is just needless manual work because you have to look through those 10 out of 11 and you will see that those 10 refer to correct recurring payments due to rent, leasing, paying for energy. And on the next slide, we can see that you have to consider using a rule-based approach, different vendors. So like Philip said, master data duplicates. Then you have to think about posting dates, document dates. And one will find his or herself very fast in the situation where you will add rules and rules and rules on top, and no one can manage such a big rule set. But using such a simple approach, the only advantage of the KISS principle, so the advantage of using some simple rules is that this method is pretty fast. Now let's talk about our AI-supported duplicate payments analysis. As I said, the KISS principle is pretty fast, and therefore we use a hybrid approach using the KISS principle, so some rule-based approach to find a lot of potential duplicate payments. And afterwards, we use the accuracy of an AI to filter out all the false positives. So all the potential duplicate payments that are in reality no duplicate payments. If this all sounds a little bit complicated, let's go through the AI workflow, starting with the first square on the left side. There it says duplicate payments analysis is executed. And here the KISS principle is applied. So we use some very, very simple rules to detect a lot of potential duplicate payments. So this approach here in this square is pretty fast. So this is the big advantage, but the disadvantage is there will be a lot of false positives. So a lot of potential duplicate payments that are in reality no duplicate payments. If we move on to the second square, we can see now we have some set of potential duplicate payments. And now we use an AI, so we hand over all those potential duplicate payments to an AI. And now the AI assesses each potential duplicate payment into either true or no duplicate payment, as you can see in red and in green here. Now it is the case in very, very complicated cases. The AI may not be 100% sure. And in these cases, the AI will always hand over those cases where the AI is not 100% sure to true duplicate payments. So we do not want to lose, in very special cases, true duplicate payments. And now, as you can see on the top right, there is a human in the loop. Now we have a user evaluation on top. So there, some user is checking the true duplicates again. And that information, either it is a true or no duplicate payment then evaluated by the user, that information is stored in a training pool with the referring duplicate payments. And now if we start all over again the workflow, so maybe a week later, a month later, or whatsoever, now the KISS principle is applied again. So with very simple rules, we find new potential duplicate payments again. Those are handed over to the AI. And now you can see the AI is linked to the training pool, and the training pool is getting bigger and bigger, and therefore the AI is getting better and better in assessing the potential duplicate payments into either true or no duplicate payment. And again, there is the human in the loop that assesses the AI again, and all the information from the user is stored in the training pool. And this loop is repeated over and over again, and the AI is steadily getting better. So on the next slide, let's talk about the performance. We know from experience and from customers that are already using our AI that by using the AI, there will be 70% less false positives in your results. So 70% less needless manual work, because checking duplicates that are in reality no duplicate payments at all only means manual effort to you. And a little hint on this slide, we reached that level of accuracy with about 500 labeled duplicate payments in the pool. So as you can see on the next slide, we are using a hybrid approach here. So we use conventional data analytics, and conventional always means rule-based. So we check, or we are looking for all the pairs where the vendor name and the invoice number is the same. So this rule-based approach is conventional, and we combine it with an AI. And therefore, we get the best of both worlds. So a little summary. As we have seen, the AI learns based on a training pool. And this is very crucial here, because the training pool consists of labeled duplicate payments. And therefore, as the pool increases, the performance of the AI gets better and better. Now, the second bullet is very crucial as well. Each customer trains their own AI. We do not have a single AI for each of you. each customer trains and gets their fully own and independent AI. The reason is different customers have different sizes and different processes. And so therefore, the approach by using a single AI pre-trained for all of you will not work. The third bullet, the AI updates itself before each run. You don't have to train the AI. You don't have to be a master in data science. So everything is in the workflow automated. So the AI updates itself each time the workflow starts. And as I said, the data pool is continuously growing, and so therefore the number of false positives is steadily decreasing. And from our perspective, the target users here are at least finance departments and internal controls. So now we talked a lot about duplicate payments. Let's talk about duplicate credit notes. Now, the good thing is we know that the workflow is not that easy and simple, but as for our duplicate credit notes analytic, the workflow is exactly the same, even if the workflows are independent and the AIs are independent. So those are two independent analytic steps, one for finding duplicate payments and one for finding duplicate credit notes. And now the good thing is the concept, the workflow stays the same. And again, our analytic step for finding duplicate credit notes uses an AI, of course, and again, the AI learns based on a training pool. Those training pools have nothing in common, so the training pool for the duplicate payments and the pool for duplicate credit notes are independent. Again, each customer trains their own AI. We do not have a single AI for all of you. Everyone gets their own AI. Again, the AI updates itself before each run. Again, the data pool is continuously growing because of the human in the loop, and so the number of false positives is steadily decreasing. And again, from our perspective, the focus here is finance departments and internal controls. So now we talked a lot about the technical stuff, but let's talk about how you can get your money back. So Philip.
Correct. As Moritz has explained, how our process of finding potential duplicate payments or duplicate credit note works, we need to somehow have a process on working all this stuff off. And I have prepared for you a little workflow. Using now the Microsoft environment, we are also able to fulfill these processes in other environments. So what we see here is that we have analytics, duplicate payment analytics running for our company in DAB Nexus, so our data analytics platform. It also works like, for example, in the ACL environment, like on ACL robotics, or with results in the end. So there are some ways possible, and also if you are using another system for working off the results, we might be able to connect it to our platform. So we have some runs here. We have maybe a weekly run of duplicate payments. We train it, and the way we train it, I will show you now. So, as I said, we will be in the Microsoft environment today. And what you can see here is Microsoft lists. Microsoft lists, or it has been called SharePoint lists in the past, is a collaborative tool where we upload our analytic results. So, as Moritz said, we are finding some potential duplicates. And these are uploaded. And now, me as a human being, my task is to find out whether what I see here is a true positive. So it is an actual duplicate. We paid money more than once. Or it is a false positive. So there might be a good reason behind why it looks like this, but it is not an actual duplicate payment. So here we already see this is a triple. We have found out that this is a true duplicate. So what we do is we set the status to true duplicate. And these statuses we have here, this is the way our AI learns. So if we flag it as a true duplicate, it knows, okay, this is a true duplicate, and it tries to find out patterns also in others, why this is a true one or not. What we have now is we also have a second one. So we have these two entries which look like a duplicate payment. And as you can see here, we also have in a link, our so-called dup-link. And when we click on the link, we will be forwarded through our so-called DAP link, a small tool, which sends us back into our SAP system, where we can then compare the two elements with each other. So we have now the invoices in front of us, which our analytic found as it seemed to be a duplicate. And now we could also go into the environment, look for the actual document. If you have a document attached to it, compare it with each other, and so on and so on, and do our stuff in SAP. And we might already be able to see we have different document dates. This can be from different years. So maybe we order just the same stuff twice. It looks like it's a duplicate, but it is not, as we are already performing the same thing of last year another time. So we ordered the same stuff, got an invoice which has the same items, the same prices, and also. So we decide, okay, today this is not an actual duplicate for us, and then we flag it into the system as a false positive. And this is, to be honest, the process which you have to perform. And for this flagging, it takes a few seconds per duplicate, per double, or per triple to follow up on this. And by doing so, the system can learn. And we grab the information from here, so from Microsoft Lists, put it back into our training pool, where we now have the flag of true or false, and then train our pool. And the next time we get analytic results, the AI runs over, the accuracy of finding actual true positives, so actual duplicate payments, will get better and better and better and better. So the time you have to spend inside Microsoft Lists will get lower and lower, and the efficiency of getting out data from your data or getting back money from your data pool will get higher. That is the process behind the follow-up. But when we are talking about all the duplicate payment stuff, duplicate credit notes or whatsoever, we also need to talk about data strategies. You can go and just run duplicate payments for the last 3 to 5 years, then you get results, that's it. But we need to focus on a little bit more points when it comes to find the right data strategy for your approach. So duplicate payments and duplicate credit notes, when you want to analyze it, and you want to see the duplicate payments from the last month, and you only take the extraction period also to the last month, so you only take the last month data, I don't think that you will find a lot of duplicates. Why? Because usually, or in a lot of cases, there might be some time differences already between. So for example, you pay an invoice, but what you do is you do the wrong reference on your bank account, so your vendor is not able to correctly connect it. And then he sends maybe a dunning or you did it last minute and the dunning was already automatically created. You get the dunning and you pay the dunning then also. So the second payment is based on a dunning from your vendor. Usually, the time between the first invoice and the dunning might be a few months. These you would not find if extraction period is similar to analytic period. Also, it is important to think about the frequency of analytic runs. The more often you do an analytic run, the more invoice or the more results you might get on a frequent basis, because some you might not have found in the system yet, and then you try to already clear it before it gets in the payment run. So the higher you build a frequency, the more you can go from a detective approach to a preventive approach. But, and this is also a big point, you need also the work-off capacity. So when you say, I want to have my duplicate payments analytic run every day, you need to make sure that also the next day or after the analytic run, someone can take care of the work-off or the follow-up process. That also means that you have to take care of the timing of the analytic run. So especially when you're a global company, some people might book at the one time zone, some others in the other time zone. And also you need to take care then of the data scope. So especially when you have a process over more systems and company codes, where there is a risk that someone pays something also for another company code, take this into consideration. So it shows you that also the data strategy on how you want to tackle duplicate payments needs a little bit more thinking of what you might think in the very beginning. Now we have talked a lot about duplicate payments and duplicate credit notes, but there might also be some other cashback opportunities for you in the company. So we have seen that a lot of people only focus on duplicate payments or duplicate credit notes and say, okay, I might get some money back with these analytics. But especially in the German market or DACH market itself, Central Europe, we have so-called cash discounts, or in German, Skonto. And these Skonto and cash discount analytics can also show you where you have, on the one hand, so if you pay something, might have some more potential to save money by paying earlier, and so saving money so that you can take 2% cash discount. On the other hand, it can also show you where you have some customers who always take the cash discount, even though they are not paying within the period where they are allowed to take the cash discounts. Then another thing is having a look at pricing and conditions. If you have allowed all your salespeople to do whatever they like with pricing and conditions, this can also be very, very, ugly in the system. So everyone gives their own pricing stuff, all the conditions, rebates, and all that stuff. So you should have a closer look on what conditions are used. Are we giving too many discounts and rebates? How are we going with all that stuff? Then we also have to have a look at payment and Incoterms. Payment terms, on the one hand, also refers to cash discounts, maybe. If you use payment terms which allow a high cash discount, you might also lose some money on this side. The other thing is the Incoterms. A lot of people don't really look at Incoterms, but the Incoterms might also have strong impact on your payments for example, insurances, freight, etc. So if you have agreed on a fixed freight price, it makes a big difference if someone takes the goods directly at your warehouse, or if you have to send the goods half around the globe on your cost and also on your insurance costs. So this can also lead to very high cash losses for your shipping and insurance. And what also should not be forgotten is that there is the possibility to also send some free of charge products. So if you're not allowed to give easy cash discounts or pricing rebates, then you might just put in like 5 products more for free into the delivery. And so you have another way of giving some kind of rebates. What I want to tell you here is that it's not only duplicate payments and duplicate credit notes on how you can figure out or how you can save money or even get some money back. So also have a look at other savings opportunities. Let me sum up what we have been talking about in the last 40 minutes. So in your whole company, there is a large number of potential monetary losses, and you will not be able to figure all these out with manual effort, with manual approaches, with SE16 searches, and so on and so on. You need a good way and a good data analytic tool which can help you to minimize your potential monetary losses in your company. We saw that especially the AI part of the analytic can support you with minimizing the effort of checking and following up on the process. I mean, it can be a good analytic which has a lot of false positives. And in the end, that means that you are not looking up everything, and you might have already some cash losses in your table, but because you have so many of potentials, you will not find them because you don't have the time to search for it. With the help of AI, we can lower the potential duplicates and have in your whole pool more true duplicates when you compare it to the false positives. And this will save you time with a higher output. So with less resources, you can get more money back. Also think of the right data strategy because if you only do it once or after 3 years, we always have only a little time frame to get some money back. So the more often you do it, the higher your cashback opportunities might be, but you might also need to have a dedicated team, for example, some internal controls testers. So think of the data strategy, which company codes will you include, who is responsible for what, and how can you put all these information together. Then a very important thing, do not just look at duplicates. There are also other opportunities which can save you money as well. And my last advice to you is, if you're only looking for duplicate payments and all the money losses, but do not try to eliminate the reasons behind. So for example, process weaknesses, poor data quality, etc. The ones I told you in the beginning, you will always be the one trying to detect money losses and not the one who prevents the company from losing money. So if you also clean up your data quality, if you have an overview of your processes and why, what weaknesses you have, you might be able to prevent already the money from leaving your company or from losing that that money. And this is a much more efficient way than afterwards trying to get that back, that's always more effort in the end. Yeah, these are my key outcomes of today's webinar. And with that, I would like to close my talking and give back to you, Johannes, because I think you have some questions from the audience today, which we can have a look at together.
Yes. Thank you, Moritz. Thank you, Philip. So let me just dive in the first question. How did these false positives in the lists check the pass of the initial KISS analysis, so the closed question, since the objective marks already show that there are no duplicates like different year and different invoice number? Philip, I think that question goes to you, why we haven't done it like stricter in the closed question, and that I think refers to how do duplicate payments can occur in the first place.
Correct. I mean, we could make it much more closer, but we will lose a lot of true duplicates. So the invoice number, which we see, is very often not the same when we just look at the plain invoice number. For example, if we as DAB send you an invoice, we will have RE for Rechnung, invoice in German, then the fiscal year, then there's a dash, then that's the invoice number. Now you are typing in the invoice number. Some are putting the RE in front, some don't, some put in the dash, etc. So it can be that also it's a different invoice number. It is still the same duplicate payment. What we look at more is that we clear up the invoice number and look more on the numbers itself. Another reason might be if you are stressed, like in the end of a quarter, and you type in the invoice number, SAP might give you a hint that invoice number has already been paid. Then you try to look it up. You're not pretty sure. Maybe you don't have full visibility or whatsoever. And what we see in a lot of things is if you have still like 100 invoices to book, then what a lot of people do is they put a comma in the end or a star or something so that the invoice number is a little different. That is, yeah, a very common sense on how invoice or duplicates occur. On the other hand, when we say other fiscal year, I think I did that Dunning example. So the first payment was based on the invoice. The second payment is based on the Dunning. Maybe the Dunning is from another year. I mean, it might refer to the actual invoice before, but maybe you put in the date of the Dunning instead of the original invoice. Then you might also have different years in here. Also, with invoice corrections, etc., it might occur that some time shifts are in. So if you are very strict in your rules, you will also lose a lot of true positives. That was also the original issue, why we thought we might need an AI who helps us trying to eliminate some false positives. I hope this answers the question.
Thank you, Philip. I think that question alone also showed what the problem here is because of the sometimes a little bit funny occurrences of duplicate payments because, there's multiple things, some stuff goes over months, over years, and sometimes you might think, okay, that's neglectable, but when you count the whole volume of it over a certain time of periods, it's money. Yeah. Sometimes a lot of that. We've got another question that I think goes more in the direction of Moritz. I will read that. Distinguishing between true positives and false positives using simple AI algorithms may not be a straightforward task. Could you please provide more details on which AI algorithms could be employed to address this issue? Moritz, what have you done?
So maybe to clarify those two terms. So true positives are true duplicate payments and false positives are duplicate payments that are in reality no duplicate payments. So in statistics and data science, there are these two terms, true and false positives. And you are right, this is not a straightforward task. What I can say here is that we, of course, use supervised learning here because of the human in the loop and the labels in the pool. But I think I have to disappoint you here because the algorithms we use, the AI we use here, this is our secret we will keep. I hope you can understand this, but let's say it like this. We use a supervised learning approach here.
Thank you, Moritz. Then we've got a question that might sound simple, but might not be as simple because it is also targeted, I think, to the goal and to the workflow that comes after. Thank you for this interesting webinar. What data strategy do you advise for regular duplicate payment checking, full or data SAP data extractions?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Now I could. So I don't know who that question did. So at first, I would recommend having a look together at your company structure, because do you have shared service centers? Do you have invoice or accounts payable department everywhere? That makes a total difference. Because if you have like a shared service center in Europe and one in Asia, for example, and the email address of these both shared service center is, for example, shared service center 1 and shared service center 2, and it's very similar, that means that for your vendor, it might be easy to mix up where to send the invoice, and it can, or that vendor could send it to both. So I would try to at first go also with a approach to have a look in general over the multiple shared service centers, a little bit a wider approach, and let it run for a period of time. And if I see that we have a lot of duplicates based on the different regions, then I would put this together in one extract and let one person who has the possibility to check in both systems, etc., to do the follow-up process. If we see it's very strictly divided and we don't find any duplicates in the multiple systems, it might be quicker and faster to run it only for each shared service center or whatsoever. So here I really have to disappoint you. It depends a little bit on the company structure. Then when it comes to how often, so the frequency, we have one customer who does it on a daily basis before the payment run runs. So they want to try to prevent the duplicate payment from happening. Then you really need a very high frequency. So you need someone who actually checks it before the payment run is started. And if it's a potential duplicate, then it needs to block this from, so it puts a payment block on it, etc. Therefore, you need quite a team who is quick. And that also depends on if you do like a payment run twice a day. The cadence between the two payment runs might be too small to actually performance in there. So this is a little bit a process stuff. And it also depends on your data amount. I mean, we can only be as fast in our frequency and that depends on as fast as the data extraction itself is. I mean, we are pretty fast with our solution, but if you have a lot of small payments a day, so hundreds and thousands of small payments, it might get harder as if you have if you're only supplying, or if your suppliers only sends you a few invoices which are bigger. So that can also have an impact of how to set this up from preventive to detective. I hope this answers a little bit your question. I mean, it's always a decision a little bit based on your company and the company structure.
Thank you, Philip. As I guessed, sounds simple, could be complicated in the end, really depending on, yeah, as you said, company structure and also the goal, why you want to apply it, not the fundamental that you don't want to pay twice, but the target if you really want to have it as a preventive control or as a detective control. Thank you. Any more questions today? I don't know if I maybe overlooked anything. If I don't see any more at the moment, if yeah, you should have questions in the aftermath, please let us know. You will get the slides and the recording automatically over the next days or hours, I don't know, but in a very short time. If anything occurs as a question or so, please don't be shy. Please approach us anytime. We are happy to answer your question.
Right. We have some links here now on this slide. So on the very left side, we have a blog post where Moritz wrote a little bit about duplicate payment and AI-supported duplicate payments. All the flyers, LinkedIn, etc., which you could also have a look on how we approach this. And on the right side, we have our YouTube channel where we will also post this video too. So if you want to share it with some colleagues or whatever, you can directly use these links.
With that, thank you to Moritz, thank you to Philip, thank you also to Sabrina for supporting us here. To all of you, thank you for your interest, thank you for your time today, and have a great day. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a nice day.